Hi everybody! How y'all doing out there? I hope this video is finding you well, and I hope you are ready to get right on into some dialogue. That being said, welcome to another episode of Right On In. I am your host, Mr. Andrew J. Stillman, and we are almost ready to officially get started on National Novel Writing Month. It's seriously like a week and a half away, you guys. Are you ready? If you have stuck with me on these tutorials over the last few weeks, I certainly hope the answer to that question is yes. If you have not seen any of the videos that lead up to this one, please feel free to check out any of the videos linked down there in the description box, or just head on over to my channel and check out the novel writing playlist. Before we get started on today's topic, if you have not already, please take a moment to hit that little subscribe button, followed by the bell notification so you can be informed anytime I upload a new video, whether it be a tutorial, or a writing prompt, or writing advice. You'll know. So as for today, I have said it before, I will say it again, and I will repeat it until the day that I die. Dialogue is my favorite. I really couldn't tell you why, but without further ado, let's get right on in. Okay, so dialogue. Some people hate it, some people love it. Out of anything in my career, my dialogue has just been the most consistently complimented portion of my craft. It actually feels really weird saying that out loud, but I've just always had people telling me that they wish that their dialogue could be more like mine, and I just don't know how to take that. We have all got our various strengths and weaknesses, so I just wanted to take a moment today to talk about some ways that you can improve your dialogue so you don't get too caught up in all those conversations with your characters. My first two tips are gonna come at you really quick before I embellish, because they're basically the exact same thing but opposite. What in the bloody chimpanzee does that mean? Number one, base your dialogue off of real conversations. Hang on a minute, just a second. Number two, do not base your dialogue off of real conversations. And whoa, Nelly, could those two sentences be any more opposite from each other? Slow your horses, it's fine, I got you. Remember? Now it's time for the breakdown. Number one, base your dialogue off of real conversations. I want to begin by focusing on the first word there, base. Think about it this way. You see a trailer for some scary-ass horror movie, and if it's some sort of haunted house or demon possession movie or whatever, hey, it's October, that theme is nigh, it's most likely going to come with some sort of based on a true story tag. That means that while some elements of the movie or book, because horror books are just as subject to this, that means that while some of the elements might be true, for the most part, events are going to be exaggerated or molded and tweaked around just a little bit so that they can fit into the linear storyline. Events may be added or taken away based on whatever that might mean, but the end result is just modified enough to the extent that the creative work becomes fictional and not like a documentary or a biographical type piece. So while it is important to base your dialogue off of real conversations, let's talk about number two. Do not base your dialogue off of real conversations. What I mean by this is that dialogue should not be copied based on how a real conversation might take place. Think about the amount of times you might say, I mean, or like, or so, or any other filler word that just kind of comes in naturally to take up space or fill nervous tension. Even if you were to read the subtitles on all of my videos, which, number one, you're welcome for transcribing myself. And number two, we are going to talk about subtitles again in a minute. But if you were to read the subtitles on my videos, you would see the amount of times that I personally use filler words like I just mentioned. And it's honestly probably something I wouldn't have noticed as in-depth if I wasn't doing all of the transcriptions for the subtitles. But if you have ever seen How I Met Your Mother, outside of season 9, of course, think about the whole Robin Scherbatsky fun thing that wound up becoming a college drinking game. Taking these 2 bits of advice helps us move forward into number 3. Use cultural significance to influence your dialogue. Since we've done all of that character and plot and setting development and everything throughout these tutorials, what I mean by that is to consider everything about what influences and drives and shapes the character that you're writing and use it to help shape your dialogue. For instance, if your character is really snobby or brought up around a bunch of rich people and kind of looks down on other people, they're probably not going to run around saying something like, let's just go smear mud and poo all over the windows of the town or something. I mean, they might, because you never know. Number 1, mental breakdowns are a real thing, and number 2, like I've said, I'm gonna encourage you to do whatever you want. But what I am trying to say here is to think about your character's general mannerisms, where they are speaking from, how they act, and all of that helps influence the dialogue attributes, because you just don't want to have them say something that comes across as out of character. You want whatever is said to come out as naturally as possible, despite your conscious attempt to remove filler words. This also goes back to point number 1, however, about basing your dialogue off of the way that people really speak, especially when it comes to people that you interact with who come from a different race or culture or religion or anything else in between that you personally affiliate with as well. So this brings us now on to number 4, which is use subtitles to help improve your dialogue. Okay, so this one I'm actually going to talk about for a couple of minutes here because 1, I swear by this, I will always swear by this, and I cannot emphasize this enough when it comes to dialogue. And 2, I wrote a post about this for the write practice a few years ago, and people seem to really enjoy the exercise. And I wanted to bring it up again and include it with these little novel writing tutorials, because obviously right now we are all in this together. So first up, I think that the use of subtitles is important because it not only helps you with your reading speed, but for me, it also just helps me connect a lot more to whatever is going on, because there's never any of this like, what did they just say business or missing something on the screen or something like that, because you're a lot more focused on what's actually happening. But before I continue on with this, really, I just want to say I know, I hear you. I already hear what people are saying, and by people, I mean people that I know who watch movies and stuff with me. I get that subtitles are annoying at first. If you saw my video on connecting with your inner voice, think about the apple and the bed exercises that we talked about in that video, and look at words like shapes. This trick, paired with the auditory addition as delivered by the actor, will help you learn how to just look at words and register them visually, with the spoken words then adding to the cementation of that word in your brain. I hope that made sense. So as you can see here, and I will go ahead and link this down in the description box as well, but there's this little article I wrote about using subtitles to write better dialogue that I wrote for the write practice a few years ago. A couple quick little changes just right here. This whole AndrewJWrites.com and AndrewJTravels.com websites are no longer in existence. My travel blog is now lifeinanotherworld.com. Andrew J. Stillman still exists, but this does not. Anyway, as you can see here, I put in a scene from Gilmore Girls. Back when I wrote this, at the time that Netflix was just about to release their little Gilmore Girls reboot, which we don't need to talk about, because if I would have known what it was before, I wouldn't have chosen it for this example. Anyway, so I have that there's 3 different exercises that utilize just this scene to help establish better dialogue. Exercise 1 being to transcribe the conversation, so it's just the dialogue only of the scene. Number 2 is to add in the action so that you describe what is going on in the scene around the dialogue that you've transcribed. And number 3 is to go back through it to spruce it all up as best you can to give it more of that real life feeling. And I also wanted to bring this back because people seem to have a really good time with this little exercise here, and some people even have some other advice like this one right here. So I just wanted to put this in here in case anybody wanted to read it. I'm gonna link it down in the description box, but I also just wanted to go through it for a minute here because this is what I would like for the exercise to be today. It doesn't have to be from your work in progress, and in fact, it probably shouldn't be. The reason that I even got started with subtitles in the first place was because, like I said, someone had told me that it helped them increase their reading speed. I was right there with you thinking that subtitles were really, really annoying. And now I just feel like everything is so much weirder without them. And look, see, I just used the word like again. So I would like for you to choose a scene from your favorite movie or TV show, or if you're really feeling brave, a scene that you have in your upcoming novel. And then I'd just like you to go through and transcribe it, add a little bit of action, and complete the scene from there. Ideally, the scene itself won't be more than like 1 to 3 minutes long. I just said like again, but just give it a go, see how it goes, and leave your results in the comments. But when it comes to this whole studying thing, just start leaving them on and paying attention to them. Notice how some lines might look kind of dull and bland when you're reading them, but then how the inflection and tone, or perhaps even the facial expressions or body language of the actor really drive that home. Plus, like hybrid publishing, reading subtitles is kind of something similar to like hybrid reading, where you're essentially like reading along with an audiobook that's just like being played out in front of you, but it doesn't actually count as a read, okay? Can't go be marking off Goodreads books if you're watching movies that were based on them. Doesn't work like that, alright? We're just using some studying tools. Dialogue is just about so much more than simply the words that occupy the space between the quotation marks. It's about how the characters deliver it, what they're doing as they speak. And dialogue is also just as subject to this whole show versus tell thing as anything else. Dialogue tags are a pit for info dumps, which brings me to number 5. Don't tell your story through the dialogue. I talk about this in my Monster Whisperer review, but a lot of times dialogue just turns into sections and sections of paragraphs after paragraphs after paragraphs, talking about we did this, then that happened, then this happened, and all of that, etc. in between. These info dumps are just as bad when they are written in dialogue form as they are when they are written in action form throughout the story. This particular piece of advice, however, also comes as something that I'd like you to focus on more during the editing stage. Again, something to just keep in the back of your mind for now. Since we are still in first draft stages, I'm going to encourage you to make mistakes. You have to. It's the only way you're going to learn. But don't be afraid to make those mistakes is the thing. Because the exploration of this craft is going to be something that nobody else understands except for you, because it's your personal journey. And at that, the journey your story is going to take you on will be unlike anything else you've ever experienced in your life. Okay everyone, we have got one last book review on Sunday, one video left on Tuesday about understanding all these sensory details, a roundup video next Thursday, and then, oh my good lord to the high heavens, it's gonna be time to get right on in! Please let me know if you have any questions about today's topic, and I will do my best to try and respond and help you out to the best of my abilities. I, for one, am getting super nervous. I hope you are too. Just remember, those nerves, it's like the day before the big game. If you weren't nervous, you wouldn't care. And if you don't care, you're probably not gonna finish. So I will see you next week as we wrap up these little tutorials. And then together we will move forward into November and write out our little stories. And then in a month from now, it'll all be over at last. See you next week.